Hello, everybody. It's Daniela here from MatchPoint. I am here with our beloved Director of Strategy and Development, David DuBois. He just came back from IAEE's Expo last week, and I'm super excited to sit down with him and chat a little bit about his experience at the event. Hey, David, how are you?
Well, I'm doing great. I live in the greater Dallas, Texas area, and I was telling Daniela a few minutes ago, it got down to 21 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty cold for us Texans.
Yeah.
And so I got my woolly hat out, and my gloves, but everything's good. But that's after spending 4 days in Los Angeles at Expo.
And it was sunny and warm there, I'm hoping.
Sunny and warm,
Yes.
Fahrenheit, probably 65, 70 degrees. It was beautiful.
Oh, I'm jealous. Can you tell me what was the most exciting trend or innovation that you saw at Expo this year? I know you've been to many Expos, but what stood out to you this year when you went?
Well, first of all, the staff and the volunteers and the speakers did an outstanding job of putting together what is the show for shows or show of shows. And Los Angeles was an outstanding destination and great partner to showcase their wonderful facilities and their services. But what's really nice is walking around that trade show floor, seeing all of the advanced technologies, Daniela, that are AI supported and enhanced, as that certainly is the case in the last year and a half to two. And it's really hard to keep up with it all. So, I think there was about 140, 150 exhibiting companies. Probably 25% were technology-based vendors, but every single exhibitor had some element of technology, event technology, that enabled them to showcase their products and services on how to improve the return on investment and engagement and networking that has to happen at a much higher quality level versus quantity as we go forward and move aggressively into our very, very busy trade show season in 2025.
Absolutely. Is there one moment or standout connection that stands out to you that really captured the spirit of the event in your time there?
Well, because I was a member and or a staff leader at IAEE for X amount of years, many years. I know a lot of folks that were there. So whether they were suppliers, vendors, show organizers, business event organizers, everybody was talking about a wonderful year they had in 2024, almost, Daniela, back to the levels of 2019.
Oh, nice.
Economically, in terms of SEER data, Center for Exhibition Industry Research data that tracks attendance, tracks revenue generation, booth sales, et cetera, et cetera. So probably 95% back to 2019 levels, which was the best year pre-pandemic, excuse me,
Yeah.
in the history of our industry. So a great buzz, a great level of optimism for 2025. And once again, technology and engagement and return on investment continue to be high, high priorities.
Is there anything from any of the vendors that really stood out to you that were tackling those challenges that you're talking about? Not challenges, but priorities.
Well, the great, the most successful exhibitors are those who can paint a picture of what their technologies and or their applications, their platforms can do um, to enhance and improve return on investment, engagement, and networking at their events. And but most of those folks are quote unquote the salesperson. And then what was really nice to see is they would have the lady or gentleman who's the chief technology officer for their company there with them. And they'd come over if I had any additional questions. Being the non-techie, I'll stop there. Describing myself that I am not. It's fascinating how fast everything is moving, especially in the advent in the world that we live in that's AI supported.
Mhm. And how would you say your networking experience at Expo was?
It's very good. For the lady or gentleman attendee that maybe was a first timer or second timer or third timer, it's hard. If you go to the International Association of Wonderful People convention that has a trade show and there's 3,000 people there and you've been going for years, you may know 200 of them.
Yeah,
That leaves everybody else. So obviously, it's really important to have technology and platforms and interaction that allows the connecting of attendees that 90% don't know each other.
right.
And that changes based upon the industry. Some industry trade shows, people who attend there have been in that industry for 20, 15, 20, 30 years. They know a lot of people, but it's still, I mean, I go to a trade show because I've been in the industry over 45 years. I'll go to an Expo or a PCMA or an MPI or an American Society of Association Executives or, an UFI, which is a more global organization. And I'll know a lot of people and I'll be very comfortable.
Yeah,
But I'll only know 10% of the people there. And I've been doing it for a few minutes.
right. So it's like how can you go about meeting new people in like a intentional way, even when you've been going for so long, but especially when you're new, absolutely. And this might segue into the next question, a little bit of what you said, or you could totally talk about something else. But if you had to give one piece of advice to event organizers, like who are doing trade shows like Expo or other big ones, to improve attendee networking, what would it be?
Well, obviously, technology is being enhanced and will allow an attendee, whether he or she is a buyer type of attendee or he or she is a vendor or an exhibitor or a sponsor, to be able to connect, to make appointments, to look at 20 to 30 different profile elements of the individual that's either a supplier trying to sell to a buyer or a potential buyer or vice versa. Because there's a lot of buyers that want to know about new technologies or want to know about new destinations. I'm the meeting planner or the show organizer for the X Association of widget makers, and I'm looking for a new destination in Canada, in Europe, in the Middle East, in the United States, in South Latin America. So I want to be able to take a look at the directory of the exhibitor list, and then I want to be able to understand who's in that stand, that booth, and get to know Daniela and know that, wow, Daniela lives in Canada. And all of a sudden, wow, I've been to Canada. Where do you live? And then you have those kind of connective conversations that you can't get off of a typical event app or registration. So there's a lot of new technologies that continue to be advanced and enhanced. And obviously, I work for MatchPoint, and we're doing that. There are others that are doing it as well. But bottom line, it's the technology that allows the connectivity, Daniela, that is so necessary to have people leave 3 days at a trade show and go, wow, I met 25 people that have or 10 people that have a lot more in common with me, and I'm going to follow up with them. I may never do business with them, but I'm going to learn from them because I may have a question that they can help answer. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And I mean, you meet so many people at events like these, but if you have that personal connection ahead of time, it actually helps that person stand out to you. You will want to follow up with them and keep a connection with them going forward. And ultimately, that is the ROI for the event organizer. That's what they want their attendees to get out of their event. So if they're helping attendees build deeper connections with one another, that's that's what they're looking for.
I'll give you a real-time example. There was a gentleman named David. I'm not going to tell you his name or where he works or anything. When I was working in the Fort Worth, Texas Convention and Visitors Bureau as CEO, we booked his big trade show and convention big in Fort Worth is, 300 booths, 300 stands, and 3,000 people. It was
Yeah.
fabulous. Hadn't seen him in a couple years. And he walks by me and he taps me on the shoulder. Hi, David. Do you remember me? This is David. I said, yeah. I saw him 3 more times in 2 days. We ended up having a glass of wine. He asked me 20 different questions because he just changed jobs and working in a industry that is within the meetings, convention, and trade show industry, like international fairs and state fairs, that kind of thing.
Mm,
And even though I probably won't do business with him, but obviously I'll get him interested in MatchPoint, which is what I'm, um, you know, not here to directly aggressively sell, but he asked me about it. I told him about it. And so I think I was more helpful to him than he might be to me down the road. And I hadn't
mhm.
seen him in 2 years. I didn't know he changed jobs.
Yeah.
That's serendipity. That is, and we ended up, you know how when you go to some of these conventions, you do see certain people 2 and 3 times. And then if you're looking for Mary Smith or Tommy Tuna, you can't find them.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way through, matchmaking that makes it a little easier that you can get to somebody and send a quick note and say, "Hey, I'm over at the coffee shop. Can I buy you a coffee in an hour or later today?" So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. That's funny. That's a great situation. Okay, David, let's wrap it up. Can you give me one key takeaway from Expo that you're excited to bring back to the Matchpoint team?
Well, I've been blessed to be a sales type all my life. Guess it's a blessing and a curse. My mother used to say that I could sell ice to Eskimos in the middle of the winter, and it's probably true because that's just my DNA, and my wife says the same thing to me. But at the end of the day, it's, hey, if you're an introvert, go out of your way to use technology, go out of your way. If you're going to go to a trade show, like my son went to the CES show once when he
Mhm.
worked for Procter and Gamble, and he had never been to a trade show, and he was told, Daniela, to go there. He was in marketing, to go there and come back with 10 new creative, exciting ideas from the Consumer Electronics Show that happens every January in Vegas. And he called me, he said, Dad, you're kind of like a trade show guy, right? Yeah, Chris. Yeah, I've done that a little bit of my life. Bottom line, long story short, I helped him develop questions to go back to his boss and ask her the 5 things that she wanted him to accomplish. And this is a really smart kid. I'm biased. He's my son, our son. But he called me back the next day. He says, I blew her away. Nobody's done that. She was like a senior marketing person for Procter and Gamble.
Yeah.
And bottom line is that an attendee, whether he or she is kind of shy or an introvert, push yourself out of your comfort zone. If you're a buyer, go up to somebody in a booth that intrigues you by reading their description of their company. Or if you're a supplier, don't be afraid at it as you're going to get a coffee or a soda to stretch your legs from standing in the booth for 5 hours. Don't be afraid to go up to, oh, hi, Daniela, you got a buyer badge on. I'm David. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you get in somebody's face and you're over aggressive, but that could turn into a conversation. Well, what do you do? Supplier says, hey, here's my card. Here's what we do. And if you get back home, if I can help you in any way, otherwise, nice to meet you.
Right.
People need to be more assertive, and a lot of people are not comfortable doing that. But if you're going to be in the business world and you're going to a trade show or a business event, don't sit there in a corner by yourself on your phone answering your friends on Facebook or LinkedIn or WhatsApp. Get engaged. So that's the best advice I can give, whether you're a supplier or attendee of any level.
Hmm. Yeah.
That,
I
that
mean,
comes from a guy who's never been shy a moment in my life.
yes, we know it's easier said than done, but
That
thankfully
is.
there is lots of tech out, just like MatchPoint, that can help people who are a little bit more introverted, because at the end of the day, you go to these events to make connections. So, uh,
Correct.
great advice. And David, I'm glad to hear that you had a good time at Expo. So it seems like it was very useful. And I guess maybe we'll see you there next year.
Well, thank you for including me today and sharing some thoughts and some content. Let's do it again.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you. We'll chat soon.